completely free, do what we want, say what we want because this is our best friend. They understand us. Or this is... I know you want. What's going on, my Dare So family? It's Dallas here. Welcome back to the channel. This is part 3 in our godly friendship series that we've been doing. Today, I want to talk about boundaries in friendships. All right, I want to make a couple points. Let's jump right into it. So the first point is that boundaries are necessary. I think sometimes we get the idea that in our friendships that we should just be able to be completely free, do what we want, say what we want because this is our best friend, they understand us, or this is one of our deep friendships, it's a safe space and all of those things. And we sometimes take that to a point to where we don't really involve boundaries. And that's dangerous for our friendships because even in our friendships, there's still sensitive areas that we all have. We have different personalities, we're from different backgrounds, we have different upbringings. There are things that are near and dear to us that may not be near and dear to the other person. You have all these different things, these variables that make us unique. And even though we're bonded, it's still important for us to have boundaries so that we're not offended, so we're not stepping on each other's toes, or so that we're not having to constantly confront one another about, hey, you said this or you did this, and that really just hurt me. In good, healthy friendships, boundaries are necessary. It's not a, how do I want to say this? It's not a dig at how deep the relationship is just because you have boundaries. I think it's important to say that. Friendships are not a pass to just be your best self and your worst self all on your friend's watch. That's not okay. Boundaries say, hey, you can be your best self and your worst self, but hey, these are some things that I have in place so that you don't cross these lines, no matter which one, whether it being your best self or your worst. These are some things I have in place that I don't want you to cross. That's just important. The other point I want to make is boundaries must be communicated. It's so interesting that we tend to think that people read our minds just because they've known us for a while, or we be like, well, I did it for you, or you did, I said this and I did that. I just assume, no, people can't read our minds. Well, I said I didn't like it. Well, maybe you just weren't in a good mood that day. How am I supposed to know this is not something you don't like at all, So to cancel all that, to make sure that we're not giving room for confusion or discord, communicate. We must communicate our boundaries because not only can the other person in the friendship, they can't read our mind, but they need us to tell them. Like when we genuinely care about that person and the friendship we have with them, a reflection of that care is us communicating the things that would offend or would make us uncomfortable. Or it's just a space that, hey, we just haven't let anyone in yet and we're not sure we want to let somebody in. That's okay. The level of or the depth of our friendship does not take a hit just because we have boundaries and we have places and spaces in our lives that we just haven't let anyone in. That's not an indictment on whether we love someone, whether we trust them. It's just where we are. And I think these two things, both understanding that boundaries are necessary and understanding that they have to be communicated, are vital. It's vital for relationships in general. How much more for the deepest of our relationships? So that's something to take with you in this part 3 series, is understanding the necessity of boundaries, which means they're important. They're vital for the health and wealth of a friendship. And likewise, the communication of these boundaries, because it's a reflection of how much we care. When we make time to communicate, when we make time to make sure there's understanding. And I want to make sure I also say this: communication is a two-way street. It's not just us throwing out these boundaries to someone that we love and not give them space to share their thoughts or give insight, because communication is definitely a two-way street. And when we talk and others talk, healing happens, maturity happens, growth happens, perspectives change. There's this shifting in thinking. Life is broadened. We can see life from a different perspective. So communication is important, and it's important for it to be a two-way street. As I always say, I hope I've shared something that you can take with you. And always remember, no matter what you've experienced in life, what's going on currently, or what may even happen in the future, as it pertains to our friendships and all things, always remember there's hope. You better find that rock, stand on it, be strong.